folks that I've had for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, the Robin Hood of podcasting, for sure, no other than Mr. Rory Paquette.
Thanks for
Welcome
having me
to
on, Daniel.
Yes, welcome to Book 101, Mr. Rory. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
For sure. Thank you again for having me on. I love it. My name is Rory Paquette. I live in Indiana in the United States. I am a podcaster. I have 3 podcasts. Love doing it. Absolutely have a passion for it. My podcasts are Power of Man, The Podcaster Nation, and Wake Up the Lions. I'm also a podcast coach, and I am a men's coach, men's life coach for husbands and fathers who want to live a better life. So I've been doing that for several years, and I do it full time. I'm blessed to be able to say I'm a full time podcaster and coach, and it's just amazing to be able to do that every single day.
Mr. Rory Paquette, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, and for sure, your podcast itself. So let's talk about podcast coaching. What inspired you to start coaching others and turning podcasting into a full-time career?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. I have been podcasting for a long time, and I had a lot of folks that I knew who realized I had been doing it for a very long time, and that we had quite a bit of success, and they were coming to me and asking me, "Hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? What's the best equipment? What's the best format?" And then more people would call and say, "Hey, I'm kind of stuck here. I'm stuck there," and I said, I'm helping everybody I know, so I probably should start coaching some of these folks. I put together a couple of programs on things that I thought would really help podcasters get better at their craft and make some money while they're doing it. And it has really just taken off. It's taken off.
Yes. And Mr. Rory, how do you define a full-time podcasting career and what does success in this field look like to you?
Yeah, great question. I have full-time podcasting career means that I am literally podcasting and coaching every single day. That's my job. I don't have another job. This is my sole source of income. So I am full time. I eat it, I live it, I breathe it. I'm available basically 24/7. I have people contact me at 3 o'clock in the morning with questions. I'm probably awake to take the call and answer the question. I love what I'm doing so much that it just fills me up. And so, what does success look like? Um, I'm not sure I will ever hit success the way I see it because there's always more people to help. There's always more to do. But I'm happy, and my life is my own. And at the end of the day, I love what I'm doing. So that's probably as close to actual success as anybody can ask for, brother.
Definitely. And very well said, Mr. Rory. Beautifully, beautifully articulated. Yes, people, if you have a passion of what you're doing, even you're tired, you have the dedication of you will do of what you are doing. What are the most critical skills aspiring podcasters need to develop to make podcasting their primary income source?
Yeah. To podcast is one thing, but to podcast as your job is a whole different kind of story. To be able to do it and turn it into a full time income, you have to be creative. Um, you have to be a little bit daring, and you have to absolutely be willing to be uncomfortable. And so those are kind of the biggest skills. You've got to be creative because you can't just do what everybody else is doing. Most podcasters do not get to live full time off being a podcaster. So you have to be able to embrace that idea that you have to do what most won't. You do have to be uncomfortable. And that means sometimes you have to do a little bit of sales. Sometimes you have to talk to someone about sponsoring your podcast or, talk to somebody about putting an ad on. There are things that you may not have wanted to do before, but if you want to be full time in podcasting, you have to break out of that mold and you have to say, I'm willing to do what it takes in these small moments even though I don't like it, so that I can do what I love in the big moments. I'd say those are probably the biggest skills that people need to have. Being open-minded, creative, willing, those types of things. Get uncomfortable.
Yes, be creative, people, in the world of podcasting. And how did you personally transition from podcasting as a side hustle to a full time career? And what was the turning point?
Yeah, I did it part time for a very long time, and I would say for several months I was right on the edge. Is it enough? Do we have enough money? Is it time to go? And then my wife finally kicked me in the head a little bit and said, "Look, if it's time to go, it's time to go. Just make the move." And so I made the move, but it did take several months to transition, and it took 4.5 years of podcasting before I was ready to do it. So I was doing it as a part-time side hustle for all those years, and
Yes.
I'd say in year two I started to monetize in small ways, small ads, small sponsorships, those types of things, some creative projects on the side that worked with the podcast, those types of things, so that I could see that it was possible. Then I started coaching, and I started coaching just a few folks in the evenings or on the weekends, when I wasn't working my day job. And then it started to catch on. And it was when I created, my Rising Tide program, where I actually have an affiliate program that I offer to anybody out there who brings me a student. Well, they get an affiliate commission off bringing me a student. And so all of a sudden, I had all these podcasters that weren't necessarily even coaching clients, but were recommended me to other folks who were looking for coaching, and they started making money by doing that, and I was able to make money doing that, and the rising tide lifted all the ships, and we were actually able to transition at that point. To my knowledge, I'm the only guy out there doing that. So it was a creative program that has helped a lot of folks.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Rory, and keep up the good work. Let's empower people all over the world through podcasting. What role does podcast coaching play in helping new podcasters avoid common pitfalls and accelerate their growth?
I think it's huge, in terms of avoiding a lot of the pitfalls. One of the biggest pitfalls that are out there is that instead of being creative and using a little bit of ingenuity, new podcasters get sucked into spending a lot of money, or they spend a lot of money on coaching, and those types of things. That's one of the reasons why I've had people call me the Robin Hood of podcasting, is because I'm sort of, I rob from the rich and I give to the poor. These folks that are out there charging, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to teach somebody how to podcast is just a little bit crazy. And I don't want to see somebody fall for that if they don't need it. I really do preach to folks, let me help you be creative. Let me help you get started using bare bones, low low cost stuff, probably stuff you already have in your hand for your first 20 episodes. And let's do this, and let's see if you like it, and let's see if you love it, and if you do, then we'll talk about how we can invest. We'll talk about how to put a little more money into it. But, you can start a podcast on your phone. It may not sound
Yes,
great, but you
true.
can, and so I'm just a big advocate for, keeping the cost down, and not letting all of the folks who are trying to prey on independent podcasters win. Every time you turn around, someone's trying to sell them new equipment for thousands of dollars also. And
Yes,
you don't need it. You just don't need it,
yes.
so.
Mr. Rory, I started my first season on Book 101 Review, iPhone 10 with my $10 microphone. And then it grew
Nice.
and grew and grew. And I hope people listening right now or watching right now, you will be inspired of what I did. And take note that starting is hard, but go easy. Use the things that will support yourself. And Mr.
Yeah.
Rory, how do you guide clients to identify a niche that both profitable and sustainable to a full-time podcast?
Yeah. Um, I think honestly, any niche can be profitable, because there's as long as you're creative. I think that anything can be hooked into some type of either advertising, membership, sponsorship, or other creative venue to generate money. I think the key to finding that niche is what can you talk about with your heart for the next 5 years while you're podcasting.
Yes.
If you can't talk 20 episodes, talk about it for 20 episodes, you're not going to be able to talk about it long enough to monetize it. So that's kind of the biggest issue for folks is, worry more about your content and worry more about what your topic is and how much you love it and how much you believe you can talk about it. That's the other thing. You may love something, but if you have 5, 6 conversations about it, then you're out of things to say. Well, then you're going to have a hard time podcasting about it every week. So,
Exactly.
there's exercises that we go through. One of the things we spend time on right off the bat in my coaching programs is picking your niche because it's so important. And we'll go back and forth and I'll help people search their heart. We'll do practice things like, okay, let's talk about some topics in this, niche that you're going to talk about. We work through that. We don't just go, all right, here's your niche. Let's go for, full force ahead. So we
Yes.
spend a lot of time on the important stuff and build the foundation really strong before we start to build on that foundation.
Something that you like doing best, people. That's the this that you will do for sure. And what is your approach for helping podcaster create a signature offer to monetize their show, like the group coaching program you mentioned in your own journey?
Sure. I went back and forth on that. When I first started, I assumed it would that my own advertising or my own monetization would be in advertising. I have a long history in sales and in advertising and in marketing. I assumed I would, like everybody else, I'd build it up and then we'd sell some ads on it and we'd make some money. That isn't right for everybody.
Yes.
Every podcast is not right for ads. It's not a good fit. There were some very creative things I had to come up with in order to, you know, monetize the podcast and build both. Um, in terms of a signature offer, I think that the first thing to do, again, is to put out your 20 episodes, see where you are, and see where your expertise develops. Because on episode 1, you may really think your expertise is here. But by episode 20, you may realize that your expertise is actually, much more refined in a different lane. As you interact with listeners, as you interact with guests, you start to realize I actually know more about this than I do about this. Maybe it's time to pivot, and maybe that's where I can offer the most to my audience. You're never going to find everything out on day one. It just,
Yes.
you're not in the same place on day 20 that you are on day one. You're not in the same place in year 5 than you are on day one. So
Hmm.
lots of change happens, and I think signature offer has to be unique to you, but you also have to find out who you are first.
Trial and error, people.
Mhm.
Experiment. That's one of the key. Mr. Rory, as a podcast host and a podcast coach, and of course, a Robin Hood of podcasting, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short-term goal is to help as many people as I can to grow their podcasts, to grow their followings, grow their communities. Because I know the more people I help, the better I'm going to end up in the long run. My long-term goal is to travel with my wife and be able to do all my podcasts and run my business and my coaching from anywhere in the world and not be, locked to this desk and this microphone and so on, but be much more mobile and be able to travel with her and still do what I love at the same time. So that's long term.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Rory,
Thank you, man.
and looking forward for more success and more podcasts and more coaching to come. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a fellow podcaster like us?
For people who are not yet podcasters,
Yes.
yeah, gotcha. I think the best piece of advice you can give somebody who's not yet a podcaster is don't underestimate the work.
Yes.
Podcasting looks really easy. You and I sitting here having this conversation. It looks like we get to just sit here and talk and have fun and, exchange some ideas. And then what? We just close up shop and go home, right? Nobody gets to see behind the curtain. No one gets to see all the work you're putting in right now to making this a show. They don't get to see all the stuff you did before we got on the air to make this a great show. They don't see all the marketing, they don't see all the clipping and the editing and everything else that goes with it. They don't see all the research that goes into preparing for your guest. They don't see all the research that goes into being a guest. Listening to the podcast, learning who it is you're talking to. They don't have any idea until they get into it. And when I have new students who are brand new, one of the first things that I hear is, wow, this is a lot more work than I thought. So the best piece of advice I can give you is, do not underestimate the work. You have to love doing this enough to do that work and do it for free for at least 20 episodes and get you going, if you're going to be successful in the long run.
Yes. Thank you for that advice, Mr. Rory. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence you, Johnny?
Oh gosh, yeah. There were two really, that are similar. They're very different books. One was The Long Walk by Stephen King, and the other one is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. The Long Walk is, um, it's sort of a utopian story, but the idea behind it is that you put everything on the line to go on this long walk. If you win, you get everything you ever wanted in your life. If you lose, you die. It's over. They shoot you right there in the street. And so the idea of going all in, risking everything, was something that just thrilled me when I read that for the first time, when I was younger, and it really it's never left me. And the idea that once you start that battle to go after everything that you've ever wanted, the key is to outlast everyone else. Keep walking, and so that just that theme was huge. The compound effect for me backed up everything I thought, and it's something that I think to every day. Um, every day, especially as podcasters, there are so many little things we do, and we feel like we're spinning our wheels. We feel like we're wasting our time. The compound effect is a big reminder that all of the little things that you do eventually add up to huge things before you know it. And it's important to keep that in mind when you're a podcaster, but I mean, in any business, really, as a parent, as a father, all of the little things that you teach your kids, they all add up later on and become bigger than you could ever imagine. And so that's why that book is extremely important to me as well.
Well, highly recommended and very well said, Mr. Rory. Thank you for that recommended books. How important is building a personal brand to attract sponsors and clients for podcasting career?
Very important, very important, because in the end, sponsors are they can sponsor any podcast they want anywhere. They can advertise just about anywhere on social media. They have millions of options. So in the end, they're going to decide to sponsor you and support you because they either identify with you, they like you flat out, or they're interested in what you can do for them. If their clients are going to like you. So branding is huge. Again, the first 20 episodes, I tell people don't worry about your branding. You're building your brand over those 20 episodes. You're deciding what that brand's going to be. And, if you get 20 episodes down and you have to change your cover or you have to change your tagline because your brand has changed a little bit, great. But once you arrive at that and you say, "Hey, this is a real comfortable fit for me, and I love this brand. This fits me. It's authentic. I really like it." You try it on, and you like the way it feels. Then yes, you absolutely have to build that brand. That's where social media comes in. That's where your, podcasting consistency comes in, and all those types of things. It is huge because it's the final decision for most sponsors and advertisers. No matter how many views or how many downloads or anything else you have, if they don't like you, or if they don't think their customers are going to like you, they're not going to advertise with
Yes, definitely. And Mr. Rory, how do you advise podcasters to balance content creation with business tasks like marketing and monetizations as emphasized in time management strategies?
Great question. I think at the beginning, everybody gets bogged down in their time management because like we said a minute ago, they don't understand how much work goes into it. So the editing will end up taking a lot more time than you ever thought. And stuff like that. Your marketing will take longer than you ever thought it was going to. But in terms of balancing it out, the content that you're putting out is still the most important thing that you have. It's the most personal connection from you to a client. It's the most personal connection from you to your listener. That has to be the most important thing. So if it comes down to, do I spend a few extra minutes to dial in my content and make sure that really matters, or do I do a little more marketing? Work on the content first. That's really the most important part, especially when you're starting off. Content has to be the most important.
And how do you coach podcasters to repurpose content across platforms, like turning episodes into a blog post or social media clips to maximize reach?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with absolutely do, and with tools that we all have at our disposal that are not that expensive. Whether it be a Descript or an Opus Clip or a Riverside, things like that. You can get clips made quickly and easily. There's AI that can help you do those things. Um, you absolutely have to do those. You have to get that out to spread the word, to let people know you're there and to help build your brand. But how do I counsel them to do it is that it should be regular, but again, at the beginning, give yourself a little bit of grace. Don't set a really tough, stringent schedule for marketing when you first start out. When you've hit those 20 episodes and you have an idea of how much time content and editing and all those things are going to take you, then you can fit yourself into a really good, strong marketing program that makes sense for you and for your folks. This is why I do things primarily one-on-one in terms of coaching. I do, a weekly meeting and we go over things, and I'm available through messaging or texting, all week long when we're not meeting. Because if folks want to talk about, hey, do you think I should do this, or do you think maybe this is a better way to go? We have those conversations on a daily basis. You're building those systems. You're building how that all works as you go. So, I hope that answers your question.
Definitely, yes,
All right.
Mr. Rory. And before we wrap up our discussion today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcasts, people. My other podcasts. I have a lot of podcasts too, Mr. Rory, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in fourth season, and as well as my movie 101 review and music 101 and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. And Mr. Rory, what's one key piece of advice again you've shared to someone starting their journey to turn podcasting into a full-time career?
To turn podcasting into a full-time career. One good piece of advice for that I would say is throw away the rule book and
Yes.
stop listening to everybody else. Um, if you're trying to be like everyone else, you're going to succeed. And you're going to be like everyone else who isn't monetized. You're going to be like everyone else who has to do it part time. You're going to be like everyone else who has to work a full time job in order to make it. If you want to be monetized, if you want to do this full time, you're trying to be a rare breed. You're trying to be someone who, there are not a lot of. And if you're going to do that and you're going to do things that most people can't do, you have to be willing to do things that most people won't do. And that's the biggest piece of advice I have is throw the rule book out, try new things, be creative, and be open to doing things that other people aren't.
Mr. Rory Paquette, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support y- all your podcasts, your coaching, or any projects that you're doing right now?
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I really appreciate being on. Please check out our podcast, Power of Man, the Podcaster Nation, and Wake Up the Lions. And just come find me on Facebook or Instagram at my name, at Rory Paquette, one word. I'm easy to find. I'm there. All my projects are with me. Just message me anytime, and let's get going.
Yes, people, let's empower people all over the world through podcasting, and let's support Mr. Rory Paquette, because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. So, Mr. Rory, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.